Sairam, let's wait a few minutes for everybody else to join in and then we will continue the evaluation. Yes, Ishaya Gupta, you may present now.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, is it visible?
Yes, it is visible. Go ahead.
Sairam. So today we'll be discussing classification of soils from the first chapter of geography, which is resources and development. So the first type of soil is alluvial soil. So in its formation, there are two major factors which play an important role. The first is Himalayan rivers and the second is deltas. So we know that there are three main Himalayan rivers which are IGB, that is Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra. So when they flow, they basically deposit sand and silt, which leads to the formation of alluvial soil. And second is deltas. We can say deltas as storehouse of alluvial soil because when the mainstream of river divides into branches, and then also the same, they flow and deposit sand and silt, which further leads to formation of deltas, or you can say alluvial soil. Alluvial soil can be found in northern plains, eastern coastal plains, Rajasthan and Gujarat. It contains potash, phosphorus, lime, and generally cereals, pulses, wheat, sugarcane, and paddy are grown in it. Next, there is a term given which is Piedmont Plains. Literal meaning of Piedmont is the extreme bottom area of mountains, and thus the plains situated at the bottom region of mountains are called Piedmont Plains. Then we have classified them on the basis of areas. The Piedmont Plains in Punjab are called Kos, in UP they are called Terai, and in Assam they are called Duars. We have divided alluvial soil on the basis of age into two, which is Bhangar and Khadar. Bhangar is known as the old alluvial and Khadar is known as the new alluvial. Bhangar is far from the river bed, means far from the main flow of river. That's why it's less fertile because of presence of concord also. And Khadar is called the new alluvial. It's near the riverbed and it's comparatively more fertile and it contains fine particles. Next type of soil is black soil, which is also known as regur soil. It's formed of lava flows and the parent rock plays very important role in its formation, and the parent rock should be basalt rock, which is formed from volcanic eruption, and it requires moderate climatic conditions. It's found in Deccan Trap and plateaus of Maharashtra, Saurashtra, Malwa, MP, Chhattisgarh, Godavari, and Krishna valleys. It contains calcium carbonate, magnesium, lime, and potash, and it has low phosphoric content. It is clay in nature and it has a very high capacity to hold moisture and it's rich in soil nutrients. And cotton and sugarcane are generally grown in it. Next type of soil is red and yellow soils, and they are formed from crystalline igneous rocks, and it requires low rainfall. It can be found in southeastern plus eastern part of our country, that's India, and it contains igneous rock with iron. And generally, plantation crops are grown in it, which are tea, coffee, and rubber. And it shows red color when diffusion of iron and crystalline and metamorphic rocks is there, and it shows yellow color when it is in its hydrated form. Next is laterite soils. Laterite soil. So for its formation, it requires high rainfall and high temperature. It can be found in Western Ghats and northeastern states, and it contains ores of various minerals. And it in also plantation crops are grown, and the properties are it lacks humus content because the bacteria present in the soil get destroyed because of the high temperature, and it's the result of leaching due to heavy rain, and it's suitable for cultivation with doses of manure and fertilizers. Next is arid soil, and it requires high temperature and low rainfall, and it can be found in northwestern part of our country. Characteristics are there are conker nodules present in it, and it's sandy in texture, saline in nature, red to brown in color, and it lacks humus because of dry climate and high temperature. Evaporation occurs faster, and that's why it lacks humus. And yes, it's cultivable, but with proper irrigation. Next type of soil is forest soil, and it's formed from mechanical weathering by snow, rain, and temperature. And its location is in highly hilly areas, which is from Kashmir to Arunachal Pradesh. Properties are in the valley area, it's loamy and silty. In the upper slope, it's coarse grained. In the Himalayan region, it experiences denudation. Denudation refers to the wearing away of the Earth's surface by moving water, or by ice, or by wind and by waves, leading to a reduction in elevation and in relief of landforms and of landscapes. It's acidic in nature and contains less humus. And in this map of India, we can see the distribution of soil all over our country. So we can see that this green part refers to the forest and mountainous soil. So we can see that it's present in the northern region of our country, and some of part of it's present in the east also. Then this is alluvial soil, which is present in the northern region and a little bit in south also. Um then we can see red and yellow soil is present in the eastern region, southeastern region, and a little in eastern also. Next is black soil, which is present in the Deccan Trap, and laterite soil is, we can see that very little laterite soil is there in our country, and patches of it are there. And next is arid soil, which is present in the western region, that is the desert area. Thank you.
Okay, so there are few people left who did not present, and if they want a second chance, I am willing to give it to them. I'll just take out their names, and whoever of these want to present can present. And those are Nupur, Sakshi, Sunidhi, Trambkesh, and Yash. Any of these want to present today?
Ma'am, can may I?
ठीक है Trambkesh, go ahead.
Ma'am, is the screen visible?
Yes, it is. And those who are friends with the people that I have taken their names, if they are not present in the class today, I don't think I can give them any other chance. So it would be better if you just tell them or talk to them to just attend the class and do the presentation. Otherwise, they will all be given zero.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Now it tell my topic is federalism. Only the constitutional provision do not make India a successful federal country. The Indian federalism has been successful because of the nature of the democratic politics and democratic temperament of people in India who respect diversity and live together. The following points show how federalism has been worked out in India in practical terms. Linguistic diversity of India. Since independence in 1974, many new states have been created. Some states were created on the basis of languages spoken by people. The first linguistic state was Andhra Pradesh, created in 1953 after a strong movement led by Potti Sriramullu for the creation of separate state for Telugu-speaking people. Some states created on the basis of culture, ethnicity, and geography. Nagaland, Jharkhand, Uttarakhand, Chhattisgarh, and Telangana were created to maintain the ethnic identity and their geographical location. The leaders feared Spartacist tendencies if linguistic states were created, but the fear proved false because the formation of linguistic states has made India more united and has eased the administration. Now I tell about language policy. India does not have a national language, but it is spoken by 40% population Hindi. Hindi is the official language of the union government and it is officially promoted also by the government. English was adopted as a secondary language for 15 years for till 1965, but still continues just because of the demand of the non-Hindi speaking states. There are 22 scheduled languages listed in the 8th schedule of the constitution. States are allowed to have their own official languages. A candidate opting for central government job can obtain for any of the scheduled 22 languages. Now I tell about center and state relations. How the constitutional arrangement for power sharing works depends largely on how the ruling parties and its leaders follow this principle of power sharing. One party rule. In the first 30 years of India's independence, only one party Congress ruled at the center without a break and had governments in most of the states. The states did not desire or feel the need to exercise their federal powers. Formation of coalition government after 1990. The situation of one-party domination changed with the rise of regional political parties. New culture of power sharing began with the formation of coalition governments when no single party got majority seats in parliament. Major national and regional parties formed alliances to form government at the center. Several Supreme Court judgments also put a check on the practice of dismissal of state governments. The federal power sharing features are effectively used today than it was in the earlier years of Indian Republic. Misuse of power of Article 356 to dismiss the state governments. The central governments used to undermine the authority of state governments and dismiss the rival party ruled states. It undermined the very spirit of federalism. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll just call out the names again of those who have not done the presentation. And I don't think any of them are present in the class even today. That will be Nupur, Sakshi Kujur, Sunidhi, and Yash. Okay, one of them received a call. Seems like Nupur, if you want to present, you can present now. And you should be present in all the classes. Otherwise, how will you get a second chance?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, go ahead and do your presentation.
Ma'am, start.
Yes, sure.
So my topic is nationalism. Nationalism is a feeling of belonging and loyalty that causes people to think of themselves as a nation. During the 19th and 20th century, nationalism was the powerful forces that could create one nation from many separate countries, example Italy and Germany, break one nation up into many countries, example Austria, Hungary and Turkey. So in 1871, the most serious source of nationalist tension in Europe was the are called Balkans, a region comprising modern-day Romania, Bulgaria, Albania, Greece, Macedonia, Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Slovenia, Serbia, and Montenegro. Nationalism in the Balkans. The Ottoman Empire was a dominant Muslim regime ruling over predominantly Christian people. The spread of nationalist revolution in Western Europe and inspired by romantic materialistic feeling. The ethnic constituent of Balkans demand liberty. They base their claims on their distinct national identities and historical references to earlier state of independence. As the Ottoman Empire weakened, the various nations broke free. 1905, in 1905, slave nationalists gathered force in the Habsburg and Ottoman Empire. In 1914, Europe was disastered because of nationalism aligned with imperialism. Anti-imperial movements were developed, but they all struggled to form independent nation states. but the idea of nation state was accepted as natural and universal. Thank you. Ma'am, over.
Yes, yes, I can see that. Just give me 1 minute. All right, so that leaves me with Sunidhi, Yash, and Sakshi Kuju. All right. Well, we still have 10 minutes to spare, so let's watch a video. I think it would be the best way to do something nice with the time. Yeah, okay, fine.
Your mortal enemy has captured you and hooked you up to a bizarre experiment. He's extended your nervous system with one very long neuron to a target about 70 meters away. At some point, he's going to fire an arrow. If you can then think a thought to the target before the arrow hits it, he'll let you go. So, who wins that race? In order to answer, we have to examine the hardware of thought, neurons. The human brain has about 86 billion of these cells. They transmit signals down their axons by way of electrical impulses or action potentials. One neuron can then pass that signal to the next to synapse by way of chemical neurotransmitters. The signal is received by the next neuron's dendrites, propagated down its axon and passed further along. So, the key factors that determine how quickly you think include how long it takes to generate an initial action potential, propagate it down the length of the axon, and transport it through the synapse. We must also factor in the number of neurons involved and the distance the signal has to travel. Let's see what this looks like in a simple pathway, your knee-jerk reflex. A strike to your patellar tendon triggers an electrical impulse that travels up a sensory neuron to your spine. There, the signal branches, and for the sake of simplicity, we'll consider the segment that jumps into a motor neuron to journey back down your leg. The total length of the neuron in that pathway is about 1 meter in someone who is 5 foot 5 inches. And on average, it takes 15 to 30 milliseconds from strike to kick. Speed is distance divided by time. So this signal travels somewhere between 120 to 240 kilometers per hour. The initial action potential accounts for 1 to 5 milliseconds, and synaptic transmissions only take 0.1 to 0.5 milliseconds. So the bulk of that time is spent within the axons. This is consistent with research findings that the average individual neuron sends signals at around 180 kilometers per hour. But speeds can be boosted with myelination and increased axon diameter. Myelin is a fatty sheath that insulates an axon, preventing electrical currents from leaking out. Meanwhile, axons with larger diameters offer less internal resistance. These compounded factors can raise the speed of an action potential as high as 432 kilometers per hour. There's plenty of variation. Some people think faster than others, and your own speed of thought changes throughout your lifetime. In particular, as you reach old age, the myelin sheath covering your axons wears down, and other neuronal structures degrade. Back to the dastardly experiment. Arrows shot from recurve bows fly, on average, around 240 kilometers per hour, which means that given a sufficiently long, myelinated or large diameter neuron, your thoughts could actually win the race. But there's a wrinkle. The arrow and your thought don't leave the gate at the same time. First, the arrow fires. Then, once you perceive it, your signal can start down its path. Processing images or music, participating in inner speech, and recalling memories all require complicated neural pathways that are nowhere close to the linearity of the knee-jerk reflex. The speed at which these thoughts occur is mostly consistent, with variations based on myelination and axon diameter. But the duration of a thought will vary significantly depending on its routes, pit stops, and destination. In this case, when you perceive a threatening stimulus, you'll invoke a fear startle response. Similar to the knee-jerk response, a startle can be involuntary and quite fast. If the string twangs loud enough, you might react in less than 65 milliseconds. More likely though, your startle reaction will be based on sight. Our eyes can process an image as quickly as 13 milliseconds, but computation of what you're seeing and determining the danger it poses can take as long as 180 to 200 milliseconds. In that time, the arrow will have gained a head start of about 13 meters. The target is far enough away that you've got just enough of a chance to catch up, if you can quickly and quite literally think your way out. How might we observe the speed of thought in real life without cutting open someone's head? One approach is growing tiny little pencil
Okay, so in the next class, we will have our Google form test, and after that, I'll give one more chance to all these three people if they are going to present, and if they are not going to present, they're going to get 0, end of discussion. And if they're not presenting, I would like all of you to be ready with your India maps. We will do map work from now on. And that will be all for today. Thank you and Saya.